Welcome to the Merry Band of Pirates, an unofficial Expeditionary Force podcast. 1/11/26, Episode 1.
All right, well, welcome everybody to the Merry Band of Pirates. We are an amalgamation of weirdos that found each other on Facebook, and this is, I guess, our Episode 1. Thanks, Andy, for getting us started. So we're talking about the Expeditionary Force, which is obviously a book series. You probably already know that if you're checking us out. But if you don't, we're going to talk a little bit about that so you'll know what it is in this episode. But before we do that, we're going to talk about who are these six weirdos and obviously what is the book and what's the series and who's it by. And hopefully you guys will enjoy this conversation and feel free to maybe even join us in the future. I think that'd be great. We'd love to have you on as one of us. All right, well, first of all, we've got some big news. We have a new book in the series. It's currently December 9th, and the book hasn't come out yet, but we're going to publish this in January. So we're kind of hopeful that the book has come out, and I think it's great. What do you guys think?
Me from the future thinks it's awesome.
We'll go ahead and give it all of our Audible reviews right now. We'll just give it all five stars on Audible so that it pumps up the sales from the beginning for Craig.
The best book I've read all year.
As long as you wait until January 1st to start it, then you can say that.
Yeah. I mean, it probably will be a really good book, though. It always is.
Yes.
That's true.
Has anybody seen any early reviews on it? Because I know there's been some people that have read it.
I read the first chapter. I think that was part of one of the news they had. They shared the first chapter. It was pretty good. I was like dying to start reading on December 3rd, and when I saw the news, I got pretty pissed. I was traveling. I really needed that book to go through my airplane ride, and I was like, come on.
Yeah,
I had tried to time up re-listening to the last book along to December 3rd, and then I saw the news, and well, we've heard this before, and we all love RC Bray. We understand things happen, or maybe it was some other reason, but I'm still looking forward to it, and like I said, future me loves it. So
it might be the recording, it could be something else, but hopefully whatever it is they found, they're fixing it, and the book's going to be just great. So I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll talk about it in our next episode. Speaking of the latest book, this podcast is coming out on January 11th, and that's the 10-year anniversary of the first book, which we're going to talk about starting next week. But to kick off the anniversary and to celebrate the anniversary of Skippy, really, because he's the most important part of this whole thing. They're going to have a live stream, and we'll put the link in the show notes for you guys. But it looks like J.R. Carroll and Craig Allenson are going to be doing a live stream, and so we'll probably be checking that out, and that's probably going to be part of our news segment on the next episode as well. So why don't we take a couple of minutes each and just sort of tell people who we are and why we're here. Let's go ahead and start with you, Andy.
all right, my name's Andy. I'm divorced. I have 3 children. I'm a quality manager in the manufacturing world. I've been doing that for 16 years. And then I was introduced to Expeditionary Force, I think through an Audible recommendation because I had listened to The Martian, which was originally narrated by RC. And they were like, you probably like this book. And I was like, I'll give it a try. And, first 10 chapters, I was like, okay, this is cool. Sciencey stuff, military, okay. And then Chapter 10, things changed. My life changed forever. They were already, I think, 3 books in by the time I discovered it, so I absorbed that material very quickly. And I've been spreading the gospel of Skippy since then. Our Lord Skippy, and ruining people's lives and their perception of audiobooks since. So,
Charlie, why don't you go next?
Well, my name is Charlie, and I have 1 wife and 1 kid. I can't handle anything beyond that. I actually don't know when I started. I'm going to say it's probably maybe about 5 years ago. And yeah, after that, I just really started, just going through the books like they were candy.
That's awesome. All right, Mariane.
Hi everyone, I'm Mariane. I am married, have one kid, and I run supply chain for a biopharma. I started the books, and I remember it was April 2023. We were 16 books in, and the following 6 months were just me constantly with my headset on and just blowing through the books. Fell in love with Skippy, and all the other characters. I'm a fan of Nagatha. Will die loving Nagatha, and I I just follow the cult as everybody else. Once we get there, there's no coming back.
That's great. All right, Steve.
Yeah, my name is Steve. I'm married with 4 kids. So being on here is for pleasure and for fun with you guys, but it's a lot in our house at every moment. I was trying to figure out exactly. It was my brother who introduced me. My brother plows through more audiobooks than anybody I know. And so when he said, "Hey, you need to start listening to this," I think it was 3 or 4 books in. And so it was relatively early in the series. I was caught up pretty fast and then started putting them on auto replay to listen to the whole series before the next book. That gets tougher as we approach book 19 here and getting to listen to that one very soon. I'm sometimes a little jealous of those who are just starting the series now because they have like the next 4 months of their listening all laid out, as opposed to sitting for a book and then having to twiddle my thumbs for the next 6 months or a year waiting for the next book to release.
Yeah, boy, we've all felt that. All right, Jake.
Well, I'm Jake. I'm currently in Minnesota from New England, Maine, precisely. I started listening to the books, I'd say about 2 years ago. Honestly, it was through Audible. I think it was one of the Audible Plus membership free books. You know, they give you a free book in a series. Hopefully, you get hooked in it and you buy the rest of them. And I can
I think it
honestly
worked.
say, yeah. Oh,
Right.
and I don't regret it. I think that's an awesome way to do business too. I just started re-listening to Columbus Day. I got to start all over again. I figured that's how we can deliver a better show. And I find that I like the first 10 chapters more now. I don't know if it's because I know what's coming. And well, I think that's definitely it. I know what's coming, so I can appreciate the backstory. I can appreciate Joe's life a little bit more than when I first heard it. Because when I first heard it, I'm like, oh, who the heck is this guy? But now I'm more invested into Joe, and I think I'm going to be more excited hearing it the second time than I was the first time. It may sound crazy, but I'm picking up on a little bit more details and you just observe more. And I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to do this with you guys, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into the granular stuff in book 1, especially those first 10 chapters, because I think we all can agree that we sort of rushed to get through them, or at least it felt like a slog but until you got to Skippy. But it's in re-listening, there's really a lot there, and it's fun to go back and feel or see or hear the world building that's going on. Well, my name's Joey. I'm married with one kid who's an adult now, so she kind of does her own thing. But I've been in marketing for about 15 years now, and one of the things that we do is help people with podcasts. So that's why I'm helping these guys put this on. I was introduced by a couple of friends from my church. Anytime we were hanging out before or after events, they would just giggle with delight talking about Skippy did this and Skippy did that. And I felt like an outsider listening to a couple of close friends talk about the inside joke. And so I just asked them what they were talking about and who Skippy is. And they said, oh, you got to go read these books. They're pretty incredible. It was around 2018, 2019, right before the pandemic, because that was really when I got into it, was during COVID in 2020. Fun little side story. My wife, who is an avid reader, has over 1,000 books in her Kindle account, doesn't really listen to Audible all that often, but will on occasion. Saw the books in the account because we share our Audible on both of our phones, and she crunched through all 18 of the existing books, I think in about 2.5 months this summer. Pretty much anytime I saw her, anytime she was going anywhere, she had the headphones on or she was playing it on the Bluetooth in the car, And yeah, talk about birth by fire. I mean, she was a complete immersion mode when it came to Expeditionary Force, which was fun to experience. But the conversations I had to it really tested my memory, because she'd be talking about something from book 5, book 8, book 11, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I got to really think about that, because where are they? What are they doing? And so it was fun to kind of have those conversations with her too.
Yeah, I had the going back to the books, I had a coworker that, because I talked so much about Skippy and all the shenanigans, he's like, okay, I downloaded the first one. And I'm like, where you're at? Now he is on book 9. So I went back because he's talking about what's happening in Valkyrie and everything. And I'm like, okay, I need to go back and re-listening again, because I needed to see where you're at. And it was the introduction of the Beatles. So it's like, I want you to finish this book so we can talk now.
That's great.
That's
Well,
awesome.
we've been talking about the book for a while now. Why don't we actually get into it? Charlie, would you do us a favor and give us a 60-second review or description, or just kind of sum up what's going on in the first book in Columbus Day for anybody that's never read the book and might be interested in picking it up?
All right. So 60 seconds or more, hours less. So let's see. Joe comes home from Nigeria, comes home to Maine. Maine's a little small town that he lives in. The next thing he knows, he looks up, he sees lights in the sky, and boom, starship lands in the middle of his town, and all his people are trying to, get out and everything. He comes back, they're all, the hunters are like, hey, we got this. And he looks down at where the aliens are at with his crew, and all of a sudden you see these big giant 6-foot hamsters coming out of the ship. And they look at each other like, oh, okay. Then you figure bad aliens destroying everything. New aliens come after they capture this one, come, get them, goes, and turns that one in. Well, bad aliens aren't so bad after all. Good aliens aren't so good after all. He likes cheeseburgers. Meets this dodgy little beer can that says, I am your god on another alien planet. And steals a ship. I think that kind of sums it up for the first bit.
It leaves a lot for anybody listening.
A lot there. Likes cheeseburger and finds a beer can.
It's a hamster, and he likes a
Yes.
cheeseburger. But there's a beer
That's how
can,
you
he's his
avoid-
god on another planet.
That's how you avoid spoilers right there.
Well, I feel for anybody finding this podcast that knows nothing about Expeditionary Force and is going, what
Like,
is
what the
happening?
hell?
They made 19 books out of that? Huh?
So entertaining.
About a guy who eats cheeseburgers and has a weird interaction relationship with a beer can.
Well, a lot of men eat cheeseburgers and have weird interactions with beer cans. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. It's true.
Yeah,
there's-
no,
It's
but
like,
how do
that's
they
my
make
kind
19
guy
books
right
out of that?
now.
Yeah. Great job, Charlie.
All right, so I was at a somewhat Christmas party on Saturday. One of the guys that introduced me to the book series was there. I told him that we were doing a podcast, and there were 3 other guys there, and they said, what is this? I said, I'm doing a podcast about the Expeditionary Force book series. And they went, what's the Expeditionary Force book series? And I pretty much did it about as good as Charlie.
Well, I mean, it's one thing to try to sum up the first book, but then we can try to sum up the whole series. I mean, that is very difficult to do.
All right, Andy.
I'll give it a shot. Yeah. So
60 seconds.
What is
Guy-
your version?
my version, oh my God. I mean, so guy on Earth, aliens attack. Humans join aliens. Individual guy meets this beer can we've spoken of. He's an ancient alien AI, and they team up and they begin to battle all the bad aliens amongst the universe, and they get into a lot of trouble and get deeper and deeper and deeper into various different issues just to save the galaxy, to keep humankind running, and to keep all of the bad aliens in check. And then we get introduced to even some people from outside the galaxy.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
I would say that's it.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
All right. Steve, you want to give it a stab?
Oh man.
What is your version when you introduce this to somebody?
Oh,
You've got a guy who is rotated home with the army, and he is on leave in rural Maine when aliens attack. Uh, and all of the big cities start getting hit, but his little part of rural Maine ends up with a ship crashing down. Nobody would ever attack rural Maine if you're coming in as an alien. But what happened out of that is one, this guy from the army, uh, along with some civilians, captures one of the aliens in an ice cream truck. And that sets off this whole sequence of events where the humans find out that not only are they not alone in the world, but there is an intergalactic war that has gone on between two sides for millennia. And they kind of get pulled into the war only to find out that they are fighting on behalf of the oppressors. They realize that they're fighting with and for the bad guys in the whole war. But this one guy, Joe, continues to find himself in situations where he can make a difference and is kind of growing. He gets promoted from a specialist to sergeant, all all the way to a senior officer, which is ridiculous in and of itself to go straight to colonel. But then this guy, he gets imprisoned, and while he's imprisoned, sitting on a shelf is a beer can. Only that beer can is an ancient alien AI who helps him and break out of jail, where they steal a ship and head back to Earth and eliminate the aliens that are oppressing their homeworld.
And that's just book one.
And that's book one.
That's like not even the end of book one. It's
yeah.
there's a
I
lot
just
going
feel
on.
bad how I introduced the book. Like every time people ask me, I'm like, it's a military going to space meets AI. It's just a lot of filthy monks playing around, and that's how I basically shared my story.
That's the best
Here's
one
the
so
challenge,
far.
because everyone, for any of us that are describing the books, what you want to do is give them everything you can about Skippy without describing Skippy,
Yeah.
because you want to let them have that first encounter. If you tell them all that there is, and because immediately what people are going to think it's some Deus Ex Machina, where you've got this computer that is just going to fix all of the problems, and Skippy's not like that. But if you go straight there in describing it, you kind of throw off the experience of the series if you tell them who Skippy is right from the beginning, and yet you can't not get people in that direction.
Yeah.
You want to get them there. You know, it's funny what you said is that because Skippy's pretty much responsible for at least 50% of the problems that they have.
Maybe more if you take his later words, where he acknowledges that he arranged events that led to the Kristang invading Earth in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had that issue where, because my friend who introduced me to the books, he was way ahead of me. He would come back and say, "Oh, this happens," and I'm like, "No, you just did that to me." And then, like 3 chapters later, it happens, and I'm like, "Oh, it would be so awesome to be able to have not known this before it happened."
Yeah. Jake, you have heard everybody else's description. Sorry. Here's your chance to sum it up the best.
All right, how I would describe it, it is a great guy from a great state of Maine, no bias on my part at all. And everything's about unintended consequences. You know, every time he thinks he's doing something great, and he is, he's put in this absolutely lose-lose situation. He does something good just to find himself in a deeper hole, and it just snowballs from there, and they got to adjust. We got cats, we got lizard people, we got hamsters, we got beer cans, what is not to like? If you're a guy, if you're a girl, it's all there in this book. It's literally something for everyone. And if you give the first book a try, you're not going to put it down. You're going to be hooked like all of us are. If we had to do a podcast on the bad things about this book, we would be done already. That's how much good things there are to talk about this book. Unintended consequences and the universe building is absolutely beautiful. And, you know, the voice acting, we could do a whole podcast just on the voice acting alone there. The talent, not only the written talent, the acting talent, it just all draws you in. It's very immersive. And I mean, you guys, we're all here because of how great that book is. And the listeners that are listening, you guys are all here because of how great the book is.
And everybody's just shaking their heads like,
Yeah, very well done, Jake. That was
yes.
great.
Thanks.
A lot. There's cats and there's lizards and there's a bear
know.
cat. Yeah, you're gonna laugh when you hear that later, Jake. A lot of you mentioned
And somehow that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, after 18 books, it makes sense. But a lot of you mentioned The Martian and how RC Bray, who reads these books, narrated that, and that was sort of our introduction to him. That was my introduction to him as well. And you know, there's a lot to be said about the voice talent behind a lot of this, and so it's a collaboration between the author and the voice talent in this audiobook series that has really made it something. I know people that prefer the written text, the book, but I'm not one of those people who
Are they
to
deaf?
me, well, no, they just want to have, they just want the movie that they create in their head with the
That's
characters
fair.
that they have play out. And so some people have issues with, you know, a guy like RC Bray with his voice doing a woman's voice for some reason, but you know, that's fine. That's their preference. They can do that. But I find these so entertaining and so enjoyable that I just couldn't do that.
I kind of like it. I mean, when you hear Adams, I'm like, I can instantly fall in love with her. Just saying. Just saying.
Well, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here first.
Charlie's got a crush on Margaret.
And her deep manly voice.
And that's very interesting. Like, that's a very interesting take. I listen to the books, so I know the names and I think of how RC Bray reads is the names I think of. And my friend is reading book, and one of the jokes, my accent always gets me on a lot of trouble. And I came in and we were talking. He's like, yeah, the hoo-ha. And he looks at me like, hoo-ha? And I'm like, yeah, the hamsters. And he was like, that's not how it is said. And I'm like, oh, I just realized what I'm saying and what I should say. And I get in trouble with the accent and books and all the time.
I thought she was talking about the hoo-ha bars there for a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I was going with.
That's why I got in trouble. It was not what he was thinking of.
The funny thing is like if I've gone into the Facebook group or seen conversations and people are writing out the words that I've never seen because all I do is listen, I go, that's how that's spelled?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And honestly, Andy, it may not be how it's spelled because none of us know.
I don't know. Yeah.
I have Googled so many times how to spell things because I'm like, I don't know how to spell. Giraffe is one of them that I'm like, am I doing this right?
Yeah.
What does it say that it's at this point my phone auto corrects the spelling of giraffe?
Oh my God.
It's a learned spelling on my phone. I'm not sure what that says about me.
Nice.
That's awesome. So, Steve, you were talking earlier about the voice of the character that Craig Allenson writes. It's kind of it's a first person. It's Joe Bishop, but there's a lot of Ferris Bueller breaking the fourth wall going on there, and there's some actual literal breaking the fourth wall with Skippy later on in the book. So, who do you think he's talking to? Because he's writing it as though he's talking to somebody in the future, and he's telling them kind of his adventure.
I think this is one of the most interesting questions of which there's absolutely no information that I can think of through all of the books to actually answer with any definitiveness. But especially as somebody who kind of started early when there's only a couple of the books were out, that was one of the questions I thought a lot about. Who is he talking to? Is he talking to his grandkids later in life? He's Grandpa Joe sitting on a rocking chair telling the story. Is he talking to the elders, and this is his report to the elders of how they got there? These were all the kind of questions that throughout the series as I was going through the books that was asking, because he does break in and he's talking to people at several different moments. He's talking to an audience, me, you. You get to the one point later in the series where he actually does it like interview style. You ask a question, me, my response, you. I mean, there's this back and forth in the writing style. Who is it being directed to? And the reality is, I think you could throw a variety of theories up there, but I'm not aware of anything that would actually give us any definitive answers. I really did think it was early in the series that it was the elders, and he was standing kind of giving an account to the elders. But without going too far, that's not the case.
Yeah, we kind of learned that's not the case.
Yes, we learned pretty definitively that whoever he's talking to, that it's not the elders.
Yeah.
In the beginning, my thought was, is he dreaming? Is it like, is he going to wake up like in the last book and say, oh yeah, this was all a dream? And I really hope not.
There's a lot
like,
of us
it's
that were
one of the
afraid
things.
of that.
Yes, that's like, he doesn't do that to us. It will be
No,
not
don't do
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all kinds of theories that as he was going, that Joe was going to wake up in a hospital after falling on the IED in Nigeria, and the whole thing was imagined by him. So I'm glad that that is not true.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting take that, you could speculate all the time. And I think something to state, and I know we'll get into this in future episodes, but there are moments in the books where you're so immersed in what's happening and the way that Craig writes and the way that RC performs, you're not even thinking about the fact that he's telling a story, and you're so invested in what's happening in that exact moment. You're like, will they make it? Will they make it? Well, I mean, if you think about it, he's telling a story, so yes, I guess they did.
Yeah.
But
There's
you really
20
care.
more books to go, so don't worry. Yeah.
Maybe he's talking to the children in the future of Skippy Stan, like in the history books or something like that. It's like the historical text.
I like it. The scrolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sacred text of Skippy Stan. Oh man, we got so much to talk about over the next several years.
Yes.
But one of the things I want to touch on is that we talk about this being an unofficial Expeditionary Force podcast, and Expeditionary Force is the name of the book series. It actually includes two other books that are Maverick books that are kind of outside the Joe and Skippy. They're in the same universe, but they're kind of out of the storyline. And there's actually a book in the Expeditionary series called Mavericks where those characters get introduced. They get introduced earlier, but there's a couple others that get introduced in that book. But throughout the series, it's changed from the United Nations Expeditionary Force, which if you Google Expeditionary Force, every army in the world has an Expeditionary Force. It's the force you send out on expedition. At some point, it gets truncated to X-Force, and then again, later in the book series, it's truncated again to X4. I've heard all of you use all of these, so let's just go around the table and see who uses what and why do you defend using that terminology?
I don't know. I just use Expeditionary Force. That's because it was how it was introduced to me, and even when it changed, it is still being X-Force, or just Expeditionary Force. Yeah.
There you go, X-Force. Okay.
I think when I introduce it to somebody else, I call it Expeditionary Force, so they know what to look for. But when I'm in casual conversation, I'll say X4. I've actually seen a license plate that said X4, and I'm like, do they know? It may be something else completely unrelated, but I would like to hope that they're listening to the book as I'm driving past them or something like that.
Yeah, I think usually I say X-Force. I think that's the language I typically use. Again, I think good point from Andy. When you're introducing it to somebody else, you want them to be able to go and find it. And so the language may shift on that. But I think most of the time I call it X-Force.
When I'm talking about it, I like to say X-Force because I have a harder time saying Expeditionary Force. And definitely when I'm spelling it, I'm not going to try to spell that word. So I'm going straight for X-Force.
Yeah, your autocorrect changes it to Giraptha for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, about the same. If I'm talking to it with people, then I'll go and say Expeditionary Force. If I'm talking to it with, you guys or somebody that knows it, then it's X Force.
Yeah. One of the guys that I was describing this to on Saturday wanted to listen to it, wanted to download it. So I just opened my Audible app, and since I was already re-listening to Columbus Day, I just shared it with him. I just texted him the link, and he downloaded it. So yeah, but I agree with you saying Expeditionary Force, and if you're gonna go looking for it, that's what you're gonna Google. Although I have been typing in X Force in like an AI chat I use Grok, I use Gemini, I use Claude, and I use OpenAI's ChatGPT, and I type in X Force, it knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's been kind of fun doing that. All right, guys, let's kind of go around the table and talk about some of our favorite things. We got about 10 minutes to talk about things like world building, how we felt the cultural impact of this has been, the fact that it's only been 10 years and he's putting out book 19, which Steve brought up earlier. I think that's just remarkable, and that doesn't discount the fact that he's writing 2 other full series. One he's already finished, I think it was 3-book series, and the other one has like 5 books, and a 6th book is coming out. And so and who knows what else he's working on right now. And I think even the first 3 books came out in 2016. So he already had a map and a plan for all of this. And so what's been the impact on you guys? What have you kind of just share from your heart, like what this has meant to you and where you see this whole thing going?
I think you just hit on something that was really important. He had a plan. We've all watched shows or read books, and you realize at some point the authors, the storytellers, didn't know where they were going anymore, or they got to where they thought they were going, and it didn't work anymore. And so he had said early that he had written some of the last 2 chapters years and years earlier, that he knew where he was always going. I really, really appreciated that as somebody who's watched a lot of series. I'm like, I this whole last season of the show was disconnected from everything that came before it. So that's one of the things that I really appreciated, is I knew that no matter where the story was, that it had a direction that he had already determined he wanted. I think the other thing that's fun for me in these books is they're great. There's some great phrases to pull out and use in everyday language. Going back through here, even in Columbus Day, a bowl of soggy sadness. That is a great phrase that I try and find ways to work in the conversation. So that's one of several in this series that I find I like try and pull that phrase out and see where can I put it into conversation.
I wanted to touch on what you said, Steve, regarding that he had a plan. I mean, whether he wrote entire portions of books or if he just had paragraphs or sentences or an outline of everything, that goes to what we were talking about in terms of world building with this, right? If Craig had an idea of where he wanted this to go, and he might have just a paragraph for a book, he then expands on that and makes it an entire book. And these aren't short books. We were just talking about how long these chapters are and how much is going on in them, and then the different ways that he can evolve an individual species or the individual characters, who's going to progress, who's going to fall off. It's just incredible the way that they put this together. And this is what brings us all together today to talk about this and, continue to expand on this, the impact that it's made on our lives. They do have quite a few Easter eggs in there. I think later books, Skippy loves to talk about that everybody can tell that Superman is Clark Kent, and that, and things like that. It's just fun to talk about, and makes me laugh every single time. So yeah, that's what brings me to this book every time.
I really enjoyed since the beginning, and once one of the books has RC Bray sharing the story on how Craig Allenson had he wrote the whole book with Skippy being a different character, being a different shape, and how he went back and he rewrote the whole story. And I think he hit the money pot when he went back and redone it. We all love that beer can. I love the whole shenanigans and how he, to redeem himself, he has to do things, especially get dressed up or things like that, which makes me giggle every single time. Which I keep like, can I do a beer can with some clothes in the house? And I know my family thinks I'm crazy with my love for Skippy and all its things that comes with it. But throughout my day, I see pranksters. I throw jokes all the time and pranks and do things that maybe I shouldn't do, even at work sometimes. But in the end of the day, I just sign like some of my emails, especially for the friends that listen, is like I sign TTA because whatever, my week has been a shit show. TTA and walk away, and it's part of like my day to day now. It has changed a lot of my life, just listening to the books and being able to take a little bit of the problem solving and how things get blown apart and come back all together.
Skippy the softball would not have led to nearly as successful a book series.
One thing I want to say about it is if you look under the genre, it's comedy sci-fi, I believe it, but it is, you're going to laugh a lot more than anything in that book, and it's a great storyline, but it really does touch on all the emotions. Like, you'll be laughing your butt off in one chapter, and the next, you're almost brought to tears by some of these relationships. I mean, Skippy and Joe give each other crap, but there's a real brotherly bond. Like, Joe's best friend is a beer can, a talking beer can, and they show that, and they do a great job illustrating that. As hard as it is to believe, it's a very relatable book at the same time, even though they're literally light years away, different species of aliens. You can relate to this book. You can share their emotions. You can feel their pain and take in on their enjoyment when something great happens, or when a plan does come together, or when they have success. There's definitely very sad parts in the book. Most of all, it is happy. But to just say it's a comedy sci-fi, it might scare some people off. Maybe that's not their cup of tea. I think there's something for a little bit of everyone, and they did a great job writing this book and bringing an audience to the table. A lot of outsiders, like we all have different backgrounds, but we can all relate to this book. That just shows you the true masterpiece of what this series is.
And I think the one thing that I like about this whole series is the fact that it brings a lot of people together. I mean, just look how, just mentioning, hey, let's do has anybody heard of a podcast for this? And the next thing you know, it grows to this with us. I am real quickly going to read off a couple of comments that I got from this. I love the series. I love Craig. I love Bray. Love to know more, talking about the podcast, absolutely love this idea. Endless amount of topics to explore. And then this one, I think one of us might know this post. Where do I apply? TTA forever.
TTA forever. Yes, it's my signature. Oh my gosh. I'm very I appreciate you guys accepting the crazy. It's amazing. I fell in love with the books.
Yep. But with that, it brought all of us together. It's going to bring a whole new look to it from other people that are going to get to know this podcast, know how much of a goofball we all are, and know how much we all love it.
There you go.
That was a good one.
Yes.
I'll just say I'm excited to explore this series. I hope anybody that has stumbled across this episode will be as excited as we are. We're going to get into the books. We're going to get into all different kinds of aspects of it. We could talk about Bray himself. We can talk about, the way that the books have changed over time and the relationship between Craig and Bray himself. The fact that they have reformed the way that they're written for more so the audio side of things. The possibilities are endless. So, if you're listening, please come along, find us on socials, subscribe, and we'll keep bringing you some good content.
Well, yeah, the best we could do is a gold plate maybe that you're going to get another episode.
We'll try. We'll try.
Yeah.
Always try.
If you guys, to the listeners in the future, if you guys like the podcast, reach out, because yes, we're definitely going to evolve our podcast. We're going to find our shtick, but we're not going to be able to do it without you guys, your input, your feedback. It's really going to go a long ways in developing this podcast. We can only do so much without you guys, and to the people watching in the future, I truly thank you.
That's a really beautiful thought, Jake. And I think that's about it for this episode. So make sure to subscribe wherever you find the Merry Band of Pirates and review us so we can get a little bit boost in visibility. That's all the time we have for now. Until next time, remember to always trust
the awesomeness.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Like with my accent, my parents are visiting, and they're staying with me, so I speak in Portuguese more frequently now.
That's why it's so thick right now. Sure. Yeah.
Excuses.
I know you guys talked about how, we don't know what Craig Allenson was thinking writing these books and, as many as he wrote and everything, but, I guess he really just didn't want to clean the garage.
Yep.
Have you guys ever had a fluffernutter?
Yes.
Yep.
I know, Andy, you probably have.
Who said no?
I said no. I live in Texas.
Joey said no. Mariane said no. Charlie said no.
I have 4 kids. Fluffernutters might be the most eaten food in my house. Just not by me.
Welcome to the Merry Band of Pirates, an unofficial Expeditionary Force podcast. It's episode 1, publication date 1/11/26.
That's great. You want to do it again?
No? Yeah, why not? Take 2. It leaves a lot for anybody listening.
Lot there. Likes cheeseburger and finds a beer can.
It's a hamster. And he likes cheeseburger. If there's a beer
That's how
can,
you
he's just
avoid-
gone on another planet.
That's how you avoid spoilers right there.
I feel for anybody finding this podcast that knows nothing about Expeditionary Force and is going, what
I'm like,
is
what the
happening?
hell?
Well, I think that's a beautiful thought, Jake. And with that, that's all the time we have. So until next time, remember to always trust the awesomeness.
Oh, that we got to do that over
We should
again.
do that
We should
again.
definitely do that over.
So after always,
Always.
Always. Okay, I screwed it up. They made 19 books out of that?
So entertaining.
About a guy who eats cheeseburgers and has a weird interaction relationship with a beer can.
Well, a lot of men eat cheeseburgers and have weird interactions with beer cans. I'll give you that.
How crazy it is that this is book 19 in the main series plus 5 other stories along the way in 10 years.
in 10 years.
The pace of these stories coming out is really pretty astounding. The amount of words he's pumping out is over the top, especially when he's got a whole nother series on the side that he's also writing.
All right, guys, I'm getting a text from my wife. She's telling me to wrap it up. So.
All right.
All right, guys.
There you go.
Fun.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good
Good
night.
night.